Rygar is a Tecmo release of 1987. It's an action RPG with platformer elements that has both an overhead and side-scrolling levels. Originally, it was an arcade game by the same name, and while that version is supposedly much better, as many arcade ports were, this port to the NES is impressive for its time. This is for all intents and purposes an action-adventure game with a sprawling world, and while it's by no means Zelda, it is a fine game in its own right. It stands out in many ways from the crowd, and while not an overly polished game, there is still a lot of fun to be had here. Aesthetically, Rygar looks amazing and is themed well with its forests, mountains, palaces, dungeons, caves, and more. All the areas have a unique feel, and while the enemy designs don't vary much, they and all the characters including the bosses are very well stylized, and have an interesting flair to them. When a new area is reached, it was always a vibrant change in scenery, and thus visually, this game is very appealing. There's no doubt that the music, minus about 2 of the 6 tracks, is incredible, and I had this stuck in my head every moment I wasn't playing this game. It's really catchy stuff. The 2 tracks that aren't good are inexcusably bad. One of the worst tracks in video game history rests in a palace segment of the game, and while it was probably meant to build tension, it's a 4-note loop that gives you headaches, and prompts you to swiftly mute the TV, which is a shame given the variety and excellent music that fills the rest of the game. In terms of gameplay, it's pretty simple. Rygar has a disc chain weapon that he throws at his foes, and that's it. There are items that can be obtained, but they're mostly to traverse obstacles in the overworld, such as the grappling hook that lets you access a ton of hidden areas and swing over poles. While getting on the hooks is a little tricky, it becomes more natural once you've done it a few times. The weapon you have may be simple, but it really does work quite well and satisfyingly. The enemies can get a little tricky too, but if you jump a lot, it seems that you're mostly able to dodge their attacks. Also, there are elders and doors that are everywhere that give you cryptic hints, and don't really help much. This sort of mystery could turn some off, but nowadays with walkthroughs it's not a huge issue. The Happy Video Game Nerd, or Derek Alexander, did an excellent review that will help get anyone who wants to beat this game started off right. This game has some RPG leveling elements as well. In Derek's video, he directs the player towards an area in the later part of the game with a giant robot that gives off good experience that you can grind for a bit and gain a ton of levels, which are mostly indicated by your life meter, which increases with certain amounts of experience. There's also an attack or tone number, and a defense or last number, which go up after every enemy killed. These max at over 4,000, so a little bit of grinding is necessary if you're looking to max out. This isn't really essential though, as Rygar is not particularly challenging. If you die, you start at the beginning of the area that you were in, granted with only 3 hits left, but there are monks around occasionally that refill your health or vials that enemies drop that can restore a bit too. The game also has a spell system that can boost your defense, attacks, or recover life, and it can only be filled by finding stars after killing enemies. It's somewhat helpful, but your stars also start over when you die. It takes anywhere from 4 to 7 to do these spells. Overall, Rygar is an enjoyable game. It's short, and while it lacks a password or save function, it isn't hard and is generous with its infinite continues and relative checkpoints. The action is satisfying, the visuals and music kick ass, and it's all around just a very fun game to play. Rygar's a 7.5 out of 10. Great fun little action game.